Hi everyone, I'm back again. And today I'm going to be doing the synastry chart between Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother Dee Dee. So grab some popcorn because this is quite fascinating. The interesting part of this is that they had some really good planetary aspects between the two of them, but the asteroids are jumping up and down all over this chart, and I'm going to tell you what they're telling me. Dee Dee's Munchausen and Xanthopy conjuncts Gypsy's south node by 1 degree. Whatever conjuncts your south node, those energies, you will feel them, but you will be in denial about it, or you will explain it away or accept those energies as a normal process. So Dee Dee's Munchausen, that has to do with the medical term Munchausen by proxy, and Xanthopy has to do with domestic abuse. So Dee Dee obviously brought Munchausen by proxy to Gypsy. There was an abuse involved, and Gypsy didn't know that she was not sick. She accepted this as a normal process between her and her mother until much later, when she was about 19 years old. Dee Dee's Jupiter conjuncts Gypsy's Gun and Chiron, 2 degrees and 3 degrees. And Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, and it magnifies the energies of whatever it conjuncts. So now we have her Jupiter conjuncting Gypsy's Gun and Chiron. So there's pain involved, and Gypsy took a gun and shot her mother. It wasn't a real gun, it was a BB gun, but nonetheless, it's right here, written right in the chart. Gypsy's Pholus conjuncts Dee Dee's Pollux and Machiavelli. Pholus also explodes what it touches, and we have conjuncting Dee Dee's Pollux, the evil fixed star. This has to do with abuse and Machiavelli, those energies, if you're familiar with the Machiavellian traits, smooth talker. She was cunning and manipulative, ruthlessly deceptive, and, a very smooth talker. And this coincides with psychopathic behavior and narcissism, because Machiavelli is part of the dark triad that includes those mental disorders. But we have Dee Dee's Pollux conjuncting Machiavelli. This is like an explosion of sociopathic behavior and evilness, like I just described, and it just keeps rolling right along. Gypsy's Lachesis conjuncts Dee Dee's Venus, 0 degrees. Lachesis has to do with death, and Venus is the love planet. So Dee Dee did not love Gypsy. That's pretty much self-explanatory right here. Lachesis conjuncting Venus, no love or death of love. Gypsy's Aletko, Sedna, conjuncts her mother's son and Merlin, 2 degrees. Very interesting. Aletko is one of the 3 Furies in Greek mythology, and that energy has to do with the desire to punish, and it's holding hands with Sedna, and that has to do with betrayal. So that's what she brought to her mother, because it's conjuncting a very important luminary. And Dee Dee's son is also holding hands with Merlin. Merlin has to do with sorcery and magic. So there were reports, or I don't know if Gypsy said it, that she thought that her mother was a magician or voodoo or cast spells on her, but it's written right here as well. There's validation here that her mother was had these qualities of like waving a magic wand and being able to convince people that Gypsy was sick, and that also has to do with the Munchausen asteroid. Now, her Sedna and Tisiphone Mercury and Lie conjuncts Gypsy's vertex and hell. Wow, this is so fascinating because it all ties in to the rest of the aspects that I just went over. Sedna has to do with, like I said, betrayal, and Tisiphone is another Greek fury. There's three, and so there's Tisiphone and Megara and Aletko. So her mother also had the desire to punish Gypsy, and there was betrayal involved here. Also, her Mercury is holding hands with the asteroid Lie. So this woman was a natural born liar, and it's conjuncting Gypsy's vertex, a very important part in a synastry chart. You will receive those energies. But it's also conjuncting Gypsy's hell, and that has to do with cover-ups and hiding things. So Gypsy really went through the ringer with this, with all of these energies. It's unbelievable to me. I almost feel I feel bad for her. And I don't condone murder, but she was really raked over the coals. Now, in Gypsy's natal chart, her sun is conjuncting the asteroid Hermione. And there were people that said, well, she's probably just like her mother because apples don't fall far from the tree. So this could indicate that Gypsy does have these, also the same energies of being able to convince people and have a spell over them. But it's opposing her Saturn. So I think she keeps this in check, or the energies can go back and forth. And it's a possibility that's how she was able to convince her boyfriend to murder her mother. Now, in Dee Dee's natal chart, Hermaniac and Magion conjuncts her north node. In your north node, whatever conjuncts and makes a very tight aspect to your north node, 3 degrees or less, that will be the theme of your life or where you're headed. And in this case, Hermaniac is conjuncting her north node. That's self-explanatory, and also the asteroid Magion. And Magion has the energies of a magician, hypnotic effects. So this is validated as well. Now, Dee Dee's Persephone, Saturn, and Proserpina conjuncts, and her, there's a lot going on here, so I have to, I'll say this over. Dee Dee's Persephone, Proserpina, Saturn, and Apophis conjuncts Gypsy's descendant, 1 degree and 2 degrees. This is one big hellish asteroid party. We have Persephone and Proserpina. They were both, in Greek mythology, dragged into the depths of hell, tortured, and Apophis has to do with destruction. And Saturn holding hands with all of these asteroids. Saturn it's a binding effect. The energies that Saturn has restrictive and also bondage. So she dragged Gypsy into the depths of hell with so much chaos and destruction. And there's instances where Gypsy said that she was tied to the bed with chains. So this ties back to the energies of Saturn holding hands with Proserpina and Persephone and Apophis. It's a hellish existence. Okay, so I'm going to be moving forward here. Dee Dee's Lachesis and Nemesis conjuncts Gypsy's moon and Munchausen, 2 degrees. This is also validation of the aspects that I just explained. You don't want any negative asteroids conjuncting your moon. That will bring the energies to you, you'll feel it very strongly because the moon is a very important luminary in a compatibility chart. So Dee Dee's nemesis conjuncting Gypsy's moon, we had betrayal, and she became Gypsy's enemy, and Lachesis has to do with death. And since it's conjuncting Gypsy's moon, this means that Gypsy thought that she was going to die from all of these illnesses that she didn't really have. Now, in a natal chart, the moon represents the mother. And since the asteroid Munchausen is conjuncting Gypsy's moon, wow, I mean, this is right here. The mother had a Munchausen, but she projected it onto Gypsy, Munchausen by proxy, which goes back to the aspect that I explained in the very beginning. So this is crazy. Her mother was just evil and distorted and sociopathic, and it just drives me crazy thinking about it, because it also gives me chills, because all of these energies are just all factual according to Gypsy and during the trial. Now, Gypsy's Leto and Democles conjuncts Dee Dee's south node, and Leto has to do with murder, and Democles has to do with a threat hanging over your head. Now, since it's conjuncting her mother's south node, her mother accepted these energies, and the Leto has to go. The Leto asteroid goes back to the gun asteroid that I explained before. So when Gypsy shot her mother blamed it on someone else. I don't know who, but she was just like, oh, well, we'll just, it wasn't Gypsy, it was someone else, and she just brushed it off. And the Democles has to do with the threat hanging over her head. Gypsy's Mars conjuncts her mother's Leto, 2 degrees. And like I said, Leto has to do with murder. And her Mars, weapons, a war planet, and that's what happened. She precipitated, or was convinced her boyfriend to kill her mother. Now, her mother's Uranus conjuncts Gypsy's Proserpina. And all of a sudden, there's this huge energy of, out of the blue, you know, and like I said before, Proserpina dragging her into the depths of hell and torturing her. And Uranus is very unstable. So Gypsy didn't know what to expect, probably from one day to the next. Gypsy's Jupiter and Justitia conjuncts Dee Dee's Iphigenia. And this has to do with an explosion of justice against her mother for putting Gypsy through subservience and being a victim, because that is the energy that Iphigenia represents. And she also came up with a plan to kill her mother because of her as well being a victim and being tortured, which goes back to Proserpina and Persephone. Now, Dee Dee's Diarest and Bellerophon conjuncts Gypsy's ascendant, and the ascendant is a very important angle in a compatibility chart as well. And Diarest has to do with being arrested, and Bellerophon has to do with disabilities that result in, or accidents that result in disabilities and not being able to be normal, or, you know, in Greek mythology, Bellerophon fell off the horse because he wanted to get to heaven, and then he couldn't, he was disabled. So Gypsy was arrested. Neptune conjuncts Gypsy's Ixion and Christabel. Neptune is a fog, and it clouds over the energies that it conjuncts. And in this case, it's Gypsy's Ixion, which has to do with murder. And the interesting part of this is that Gypsy's Ixion is conjuncting Christabel, and that Christabel has to do with somebody not believing what you say. You let bad things into your life and then you try to convince everybody else of what is going on, but people don't believe you. And I don't think that they believed Gypsy, the jury or people around her. So that's all I have today, and I hope you enjoyed this interpretation. And if you're interested in hearing about more synastry charts, hit the subscribe button, and I will be back again soon. Have a nice day.